This is part 4 of the series of videos that I'm making. I'm trying to explain how I came to the conclusions that I have and using my audio files to back up my information. My name is Peggy Kane, and I'm going to continue with this story. I had been recording and capturing EVP, which is spirit voices, and hoping to speak to higher consciousness beings or angelic types. I wound up with Francis Haley, a spirit man who died in about 1820. I finally had to come to the realization that I wasn't going to get rid of Francis, and I wasn't going to talk to angels. It seemed like every time I snapped on the record button, there was Francis talking away. I kept trying, but I couldn't get rid of him. So eventually, I decided to just try to talk to him. And while he was somewhat cantankerous, he was also very lonely. This is what he told me happened to him after he died. No one that he had ever spoken to had had the classic near-death experience of going into the light, seeing loved ones, or a spiritual figure. Everyone had had a similar experience to what he did. Now, Francis told me, and I reversed everything to make sure. He said at first he didn't realize he was dead. Apparently, he had died of rabies, and then sort of woke up. And then he told me he felt a force propelling him, and it was unseen, into the world where he finally wound up, and just dumped him there. He didn't know where he was, and he cried out for help, and he was very frightened. He couldn't see how he got there. He just knew he was there. He began to wander around. Finally, he came upon a place, a house with other people, and I guess eventually he was able to just move in with them. He had been there in that world for a very long time. The people there had to have housing, food, clothing, money, ways of accumulating things that they needed, mostly from gambling and stealing. They drank, they had sex, but they did not have children. I asked him why there were no children born, and he said, there are no means. I didn't quite understand what that meant. But everybody was miserable. They didn't know how to get out of this situation. They didn't know how to leave. It's just human nature when we believe something, whether it's a religious belief or metaphysical or even a worldview. We look for backup information, and we'll tend to discard things that don't back up that information. Well, I was doing the same thing during all this. I was assuming many things about life in that world. I was learning some things that were really bizarre to me, and I was having conversations with a number of the people over there. But the real shocker came to me when Francis told me that there was a family who needed a place to live. He said it was a murder-suicide, and that it was a father, mother, a boy, and a girl. And he told me they have no money, and if they don't find a place to live, they will be put in a debtor's prison, and the sadistic jailers will rape their children. It took me a little while for this to sink in. I began to hear that there were lots of families there and very young children in this predatory world. I don't care what anybody says about past life karma. What were little children doing in this dark world where demons attacked people and life was just cycles of fear and stress, and nobody ever came to help? And that set my feet on the path of discovery. I was going to find out once and for all what was happening here.